this is Breakfast. Good morning to you. It is 6:35.
Now, as with many of the front pages this morning, the Mail today features this gorgeous photograph of Kate and William as they celebrate 12 years of marriage. And don't they just look so happy?
Yeah, just having a lovely bike ride. Now, we showed you this on the left here. This is the picture that was in the Telegraph yesterday. And look at that. The Prince of Wales and in his mugshot.
Is it fair to say that's not a very flattering image?
It's not a very flattering image.
The then Prince of Wales.
But then in the supplement for the Mail on Sunday today, there's another picture of a very young Prince Charles.
Oh,
looking.
We'll go back to that.
Looking sort of quite handsome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
This is the. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Taken 5 years later, apparently. Look at the difference between those two.
Grown into his looks.
Yeah, must be said.
Grown into his looks. This is, let's show you guardsmen at the Aldershot Garrison as well, because there's a lot of military stuff. There they are, raising their bare skins. 3 cheers for the King, which will be called at the end of the procession next Saturday. That's in the Sunday Telegraph.
I love that. And apparently we're going to be encouraged to pledge our allegiance.
Oh, yes, we are.
As a nation next Saturday as well.
Yes, which is our first story that we're going to talk about with writer Emma Wolfe and author Ella Whelan, who are both here. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Emma, this is yours. It's in the Mail on Sunday. Swearing our allegiance to the King. Will you be doing that next week?
I don't know. This is a bit odd, this thing about we're all going to... So it used to be that the peers, the lords, would pledge their... It was called the homage to the peers, and it was once reserved just for the lords, and they would have this ceremony at a coronation. Now it's going to be a super inclusive, a sort of people's coronation. And we're all going to be encouraged, a true people's coronation, we're all going to be encouraged, whether we're sitting on our sofas or sort of flinging open our windows and proclaiming to the skies. So this short thing, I haven't learnt it yet, but it just goes, you know, I pledge allegiance to my king, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering how much people are going to get involved in this and how much they're going to actually want to pledge their allegiance to the king next Saturday. I think there's a lot of public, you know, excitement and support, and I think that's certainly London's kind of hotting up and lots of bunting, lots of flags starting to appear. But I do wonder whether people are actually going to... And properly pledge. I mean, you know, the bishops are saying that we say it out loud and we pledge.
I swear that I will pay true allegiance to your majesty and to your heirs and successors according to law, so help me God. Which is actually not dissimilar to what you say when you join the army or whatever.
Yeah, or when you swear on the Bible in court, or, you know.
But, you know, why not? I mean, it was a bit unusual, but I sort of quite like it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when they play the national anthem here at 6 o'clock, I always feel quite moved. Well, I don't expect to feel moved. I'm not sort of generally into all that.
I don't know, are you going to be swearing your allegiance, Ella? You're not a big royal fan, are you?
To say the least, no, I'm not going to be swearing my allegiance. But I mean, there's something interesting about the way in which this is being framed as a kind of people's coronation, people's pledge of allegiance. It's sort of an oxymoron because, you know, it's using a word like the people's makes it sound a bit populist, and obviously if you're swearing allegiance to a king, then that's slightly negates that.
But isn't it about bringing the monarchy closer to the people in the 21st century in that sense?
And that's fascinating because the whole reason why the monarchy under the Queen was successful, because it didn't do that, because the whole functioning of the monarchy is that it's meant to be separate. It's meant to be, you know, that I'm paraphrasing terribly from the Walter Bagshot sort of theory around the success of the monarchy, which is all about the sublime and it being this thing that the people look up to, and that's the success of it.
But that's why, presumably, when you look at the popularity of the monarchy, it's waning amongst the young.
I think that the desire to try and make it this sort of quasi-celebrity, slightly kind of, not populist, but sort of opening up a big kind of emotional side to the monarchy. The young royals very much bearing their soul in many ways and taking pictures of themselves doing lovely bike rides and things like that. I think actually that, if the more normal they become, in inverted commas, the more I think people say, well, if you're so normal, then why do I have to doff my cap to you? And I think that it's opened up some interesting questions, let's put it that way, for those of us who might imagine a different British society without under a different system.
I don't think it's that the royals are unpopular amongst the young. I just think they're kind of irrelevant. A lot of young people just feel, as you say, these people just living completely separated lives from us. They're completely different worlds, living in palaces, just basically utterly living in gilded cages, whereas most young people are struggling to pay rent, get on the housing ladder, get jobs, just struggling with cost of living. So I don't think necessarily people feel anti-monarchy. They just kind of feel that they're not relevant.
But we need a touch of...
Don't live in that deferential society.
But this is understanding what is going on. I mean, one of the big things, and Harry and Meghan were in the book and the series and all the rest of it, and what astounded Oprah Winfrey when she went to visit them in Frogmore was it Frogmore? Was it when they were living in one of the other ones? Anyway, I think it was one of the other cottages.
Nottingham Cottage, not Cot, as they called it.
She was appalled.
Cottage? I mean, they're not cottages.
No, but she was appalled at the conditions they were living in, because it is not remotely great. It's all a bit ramshackle when you get in, and that's the reality. You say they all live in palaces, gilded, but I mean, it's not that gilded. To be fair, some of it's a bit rough.
I would disagree with that. I've looked at photos of Frogmore Cottage, and it's not as smart as Kensington Palace, but it's still, of what, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 bedroom house that most of us would not call a cottage. It's still on the Windsor estate. It's still...
Well, it might be. I mean, Buckingham Palace is falling apart.
Okay, are Harry and Meghan living or not living a gilded life right now? They are
now, but that's
$1 million estate in Montecito in California.
Yeah, but that's from money they've earned themselves. I mean, from doing nefarious things.
Look at Eugenie and Beatrice. They also have had apartments given to them. They've also had a lot of money through the years that most young people of their age, in their 20s and 30s, we just don't grow up in that one.
They're not being bought houses to live in rent-free, are they?
Exactly.
Near London. I think what is quite interesting about the whole coronation conversation is, I think especially with the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, is how intrinsic that sense of belonging and that pride in the royal family is to British people. I think even if you're not a royalist, people have so much respect, don't they, for the work that is done by the royal family. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair to say that that did exist in a very real way for the late Queen. But I think it is different under Charles. I think that, in particular, his time as the Prince of Wales, in which he was very vocal on certain, political issues, very interventionist, I think that hangs over him. And, even though he does, obviously he's following protocol and isn't saying the things and meeting the people and doing the kind of things that he could do when he wasn't king, I think it's still there. And if, moving on to my story in The Sun, which is kind of still royal related, which is about Harry's, Flash Harry, his mad dash to the coronation and back.
Very in and out.
Yes.
This is just not an exclusive. This has been known for weeks.
It has been known, but the interesting thing about it was, so basically to tell everyone listening and watching at home, he's essentially going to potentially only be here for 24 hours. He'll be there for the coronation at 11 o'clock, and then it is speculated back in time for his son's birthday in California. And, just talking about the kind of ways in which the royals tie themselves up in knots, a very quick, long haul flight, mad dash just to come and be in a coronation. You can imagine that causing waves among a younger population of people who are very sort of climate conscious and all that kind of thing. And
you can't win.
This is it. I think the more that the royals try to make themselves normal and make themselves approachable and accessible, they're going to, when they quite clearly aren't, because very few people in the world fly to the UK for a party and then go back home again. They end up in a kind of between a rock and a hard place, which is that they either are up there as the sublime, untouchable, and not like us at all, and therefore, I suppose you could argue, have some kind of value in terms of what the Queen represented, or they're just like us, and then I shouldn't have to doff my cap to them.
Well, I think the Harry thing, there's a few things going on there. He doesn't want... He's coming to the coronation so that he's at the coronation of his father, but he doesn't want to be in those awkward meetings. He doesn't want to be in the 7th row at the Abbey, pictured, with the surly looks from the other members of the royal family. He doesn't want to be in those very awkward meetings with the rest of the royal family after the publication of his memoir, in which he said some truly vile things. He hasn't been invited to the balcony. As for saying he's dashing back for Archie's 4th birthday, it's just ludicrous. No child,
Oh, come on. I don't think
I've got a
that's-
2-year-old. He doesn't know whether it's his second birthday or whether it's just a wet Monday morning. I think it's ludicrous to pretend that it's a mad rush back for the 4th birthday. It's to get in and out so that he's done the coronation.
You are a harsh woman.
I'm not. I'm being realistic. Harry is in an awkward situation and he just thinks, OK, well, I'll come for the coronation and then I'll get the heck out of Dodge.
To be fair, it's the way that he went on for the Jubilee and the funeral as well. I mean, it was an in and out job, wasn't it?
Yes,
and you know why? Because he doesn't want to be confronted by the others basically giving him the cold shoulder.
That's an absolutely fair point. But however, I think it's a perfectly legitimate excuse to say, well, it's my son's birthday.
No time for people who make a fuss of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th birthdays. Children don't know, Stephen. They don't know whether it's their...
They do. Yeah, of course they do if they're being told. And
I don't remember a single one of my birthdays before the age of about 7.
Don't you?
No, I don't remember any.
I remember my 4th birthday.
Oh, bless.
Do you?
I do.
Aww.
I very much remember turning 5 as well, very specifically, because I thought, oh, I'll never be 4 again. I remember thinking
I don't
that.
remember any of that stuff.
No, well, that's why you're so harsh and cold.
I am cold.
Not to bang the Republican drum, but isn't it interesting that so much of what we talk about in relation to the coronation, even though there's a funny cartoon in the Telegraph, I think it is this morning, with Charles kind of praying that Wills and Harry don't fight until after the coronation. So much of what we talk about is to do with the kind of quasi-celebrity drama of Harry and Meghan, or William and Harry and their relationships, and all the drama of it, which I love reality TV. I can get behind that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that tells you something about the changing role of the monarchy.
But it's always been that way.
There's
hasn't
not
it?
much
A bit
else
like
to say about
Kardashian.
the coronation. Great, he's done it. He's, orb, sceptre.
I'm very disappointed in you two this morning. Let's have a look at Ron DeSantis.
We'll try and do better, Stephen.
Yes, Ron DeSantis, who is hoping to be crowned as president at some point. Whether that will happen or not, who knows. But in the Sunday Telegraph, he's very supportive of Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah, well, one wonders how keen Kemi is going to be about this kind of alliance that he's... Anyway, Ron DeSantis, who is the Florida governor and Republican hopeful, as you say, has been over in London, and he met Kemi Badenoch, our sort of no-nonsense, anti-woke business secretary, and he's been complimenting her on her approach to issues about things like gender-neutral toilets and, decolonising the school curriculum and things like that. He's been saying that much of that woke nonsense has been imported from the US. And he's also talking about the unique relationship between the UK and the US. And he loves London. He says it's almost like an American city. I'm not sure. I don't know whether that's a compliment.
Oh,
No,
he
don't
said
like the sound of
that.
that.
I feel like I'm almost in an American city because we have such a commonality of culture. And he would have supported Brexit. He thinks it's a great idea. So there we go. That's Ron DeSantis for us.
Yeah.
Adding greatly to, British politics.
Trying to, yes, I've really gone off the idea, the thought that we're American over here. I don't like it at all. We're very British.
I don't agree with that, no.
Thank you very much.
Funny thing to say just before the coronation.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
It is a funny thing to say.
No.
Look, we're going to leave it there for the time being, you two, but we'll catch up with you a little bit later on. Thank you.
Thank you.